Hey, everybody. It's Monday.
Yep.
How many people are in here?
Not
Only
very many.
one person is commenting.
Four or five.
Are people not down with the Burt Reynolds
They're not
action?
down with the Burt Reynolds. They're starting to pile in.
Okay.
There are more of them start piling.
Are we gonna make a Burt Reynolds trifecta and like watch another one tonight and like?
Yeah, I'll fucking piss them off. I'll watch This one was actually a good one. Sharky's Machine was very good.
I liked this a great deal. It's I saw it when I was a teenager, I think, and I didn't really remember much about it. That's the thing. I kind of feel like, and maybe this was why Burt ended up doing this movie in 1981, is that I kind of always associate him with kind of like Smokey and the Bandit type roles. You know what I mean? Where they're always kind of like funny and there's car chases and there's all Southern stuff. And I guess like when he did this, he was kind of trying to get away from that. So for a long time. And I guess, like, I have to say the cover art for this and the poster and everything probably didn't help. So for a long time, even though I knew I saw this movie, I still had the impression that it was, like, one of those, like, funny Burt Reynolds movies. And this is absolutely not funny. This is, like, a really dark, like, a noir cop thriller.
Yeah. Detective noir.
Yeah.
What do they call it? Detective.
It's
neo-noir.
Neo-noir, yeah.
Neo-noir. Detective flick. Yeah, kind of like I saw a lot of parallels with Blade Runner.
Yeah, it did have like a little bit of it, which is a weird thing to say, but it does have a little bit of a Blade Runner vibe to it.
Imagine if Blade Runner was set in the very late 70s, early 80s in Atlanta. And Atlanta, it's still a southern. Burt's from Georgia. It is still a southern story. All right, he directed this shit. He did it right. It's still a southern story, but Atlanta is kind of like the Chicago or New York of the South. It has a real big city feel to it. And he's a narcotics detective who they take him off of that and they put him on a vice. He doesn't really like it. But he gets wrapped up in this damn human trafficking ring. And one thing leads to another. Weird shit happens to it. And I was watching, what was Sharky's machine? Is it his car or the gun or whatever?
No,
it's his group.
His crew,
It's his crew. That's what Sharky's machine is. His buddies. And he's got two other real cool cop buddies and then a boss and a couple other side players. And they crack this case with these weird human traffickers. And then there's like kind of there's in a couple places kind of like a paranormal undercurrent to some stuff, because I was thinking more about that later, but I'll get to it later. It's I don't know if it's supernatural, but it's kind of Eastern philosophy to some of this stuff.
Slasher Fred said this movie starred the late Charles Durning. That's right.
Yeah.
Who is known by many Rambo fans for playing the bigoted sheriff in the original First Blood. Yeah, Charles Durning was in a fuck ton of stuff.
Yeah.
Actually, I really enjoyed him in this. He kind of plays like the head of the Vice Squad.
Yeah.
And all he does is just like scream and have like a conniption fit at every like, Jesus fucking Christ. And he's just like just fucking screaming. It's so fucking funny.
If you like Bullet, you'll like this one. If you liked Blade Runner, you'd like this one. What else movies were there parallels with?
I don't know. It's weird because I kind of feel the weird thing about this movie is that it has like a lot of the noir, like cop thriller tropes, but then he kind of like subverts them too.
Sometimes.
Burt Reynolds is like, but this wasn't the first movie he directed because he directed Gator, right? Yeah. And but I guess like I said, he'd been wanting to do something that wasn't as comedic. Although he initially wasn't going to direct this one, he actually asked John Boorman, the guy but he was working on Excalibur at the time, so he was like, no, I can't do it. So he's like, well, why don't you just direct it, Burt? And he's like, yeah, don't mind if I do. So Burt decided to direct it. And maybe because he's an actor, he kind of comes at things like a little bit different, and I don't know, I kind of dig it.
Another one this kind of reminded me of was a little bit like Black Rain. If you liked Black Rain, you like this one. It's good. It's real good. There are a couple little slow spots here and there, but it doesn't. It's supposed to. It's a neo-noir. There's kind of like some romantic undertones here and then, but they're kind of like melancholy. It's just weird. You got to see it. And then instead of like in Blade Runner, instead of like Vangelis and sax music coming in, it'll have like some 70s sounding kind of like disco will kind of come in. But it serves the same purpose. It's kind of weird, kind of melancholy disco, kind of like one of those cop series from the late 70s, kind of like what was that famous cop?
Well, like Streets of San Francisco.
Yeah, or
wasn't Michael Douglas in that?
Or
a very young Michael Douglas?
Yeah, just not Streets of San Francisco. What was the other one? Night Court, or no, not Night Court.
No, that was a fun. That was a comedy.
It was a cop series from that time. I forgot what it's called now. It's on the tip of my tongue. But they had a theme song that was kind of like that, 70s.
Yeah,
disco.
The theme song of this is by the Crusaders. I think it's called Street Life.
Yeah.
And it's a fantastic song. I really like it.
Yeah. And what's weird is that his one of his partners there, he's the dude. What was the name of that dude who's from the he was from Man Who Fell to Earth, played the CIA.
Bernie Casey.
Yeah. What's his name?
Bernie Casey.
Bernie Casey, yeah. Bernie Casey's kind of like his...
he's been in a fuck ton of stuff.
Yeah. Bernie Casey's kind of like his best friend in this. And he's always trying to... He's unusual. He's not like the regular guys in Sharky's machine, in the unit. He likes Japanese food, and he's into Eastern philosophy, and into ghosts.
Which was pretty weird for 1981.
Yeah.
Like, for a cop to be into like, eat sushi and stuff.
And he was into kind of like
Atlanta.
powers of the mind. And, well, make a long story short, there's a time where Sharky has to fight basically ninjas. Okay, they're Yakuza, but they're kind of like, they do some ninja.
Well, when they came
stuff.
in, I was like, and then 2 ninjas appeared.
Yeah,
they're not like, they didn't have the whole like full-on ninja gear, but one of them did have like the nunchuck things.
Yeah. There's like a whole torture scene here and there, and other weird shit happens. But then later on in the man, I don't know if I want to spoil it because a lot of people haven't seen it, but
I mean, well, it's old and it's kind of a classic, so I don't mind too much.
The Bernie Casey character said that in one part during this final chase, and it's kind of like the end of Blade Runner where they're chasing Roy Batty, the replicant around, and the bad guy who's this assassin, he's got something wrong with him. He's a junkie, and he's immune to pain, but he's also kind of like a psycho, and he may have some kind of a slightly supernatural way about him. It's kind of like he disappears and reappears. But is it just your imagination? Is he really? Is it just dexterity? Is it just you losing track of him?
Yeah, they kind of leave it very
sure.
ambiguous. Henry Silva plays him, by the way, and he's just kind of like this lunatic.
Yeah.
And he's like a cokehead, right? Or he's like he's a druggie.
And heroin and everything, I think.
So and so he's like a crazy person, but yeah, he does. There are a few parts in there where it does seem like he gets shot a bunch of times and he's like still
alive,
walking around, and you don't know if that's just because he's like all hepped up on the goofballs and he's just
kind of deniable.
and he's like superhuman, or if there's like some other kind of weird, because there is kind of, it's not like a huge thing, but there is kind of like this little undercurrent
of supernatural,
maybe supernatural,
yeah.
But I don't want to oversell it,
right?
But
no,
it's very subtle.
It's plausible deniability on some stuff. And there's a part where the Bernie Casey character he's all shot up and he's leaned up against the wall, and the bad guy comes around and fucking points a pistol right at him, and he's been killing everybody, and he points it at his face and goes ah, and screams but doesn't pull the trigger.
Yeah.
And then he does it again. Ah, and then he doesn't pull the trigger. And he's and then
it's almost like he can't.
Yeah, and then he walks away. And then later on, Burt was like, what happened? He goes, I tried to become invisible.
Well, there was like a big long scene between the two of them earlier where Bernie Casey was talking about like a domestic case that he had done like early in his career, and how the dude was pointing a gun right at him, and he's like, he's kind of like an Eastern philosophy type guy, right? So he's like, I made myself like invisible in a way, and he was kind of like talking about that. It's like a really good like conversation.
So then you wonder, you saw it happen on camera. Did he somehow cloud the mind of the bad guy? And you don't know, or was the bad guy just fucking crazy and jacked up on drugs? You don't know.
Yeah, it could go either way.
But I like that because I understand Burt's fucking gestalt. I understand what it is still essentially kind of a Southern story, even though it doesn't really have a Southern feel to it. It does. You're watching it and you go, this is in the South somewhere. I couldn't figure out where it was, and then I looked at it, it was Atlanta. They never tell you it's
I thought it was Atlanta.
It's Atlanta.
Like, because I saw one of the bus and I thought it said Marta on it.
Yeah.
Marta. That's the Atlanta bus. That's because my sister lives in Atlanta, I
Yeah.
guess, if you guys don't know.
Compared to, the South, the North, in the West, they call us the Bible Belt. But really, what it really boils down to is that the South has a long history of belief in the supernatural and superstitions, and, this is where voodoo and shit came from, and so it fits. So it's Burt kind of, I think, paying a little bit of homage to kind of the superstitions of the South, our belief in the paranormal, or the belief in the possibility of the paranormal. I believe that's what Burt was trying to do in this. I mean, that it's definitely what he was trying to do, based on this story. I liked it, but it was deniable.
Yeah.
It had plausible deniability. Dude might have just been fucking crazy, and didn't pull the trigger.
Yeah.
But he definitely didn't become invisible, because I could see him.
Yeah.
Okay? But did he somehow, using kind of like the power of will, interfere with the other guy's ability to pull the
I thought
trigger?
that's what they were getting at.
That's what I think they were getting at. Which,
because that tied back to the story that Bernie Casey was telling.
Right.
His character's name was Arch, by the way.
Yeah, Arch. Yeah, that's right.
But
so Arch,
but the character was Bernie Casey.
Arch may have had a gift. I believe that's what the story meant.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was cool. Very cool.
But yeah, so
it's very out of place in the story, but it works.
Well, this is kind of one of the ones we were talking about this a little bit. When we were talking about Malone too, and we really liked Malone. Although this is much better. I kind of feel like this is a
lot better than Malone.
I kind of feel like this is pretty universally. This was pretty critically acclaimed when it came out, and still is. And of all the movies that he directed, he didn't direct that many. It's 5, 6, 7, somewhere like that. This is generally regarded as his best one.
This is more on par with Black Rain.
Yeah,
like that.
There is some humor in it, but it is very serious, and it was actually surprisingly violent.
Yeah.
And not just violent in like people getting shot. I'm talking about like violent as in, a woman getting shot right in the face, and you like seeing it, and Burt getting his fingers cut off and shit like that. So there's like some kind of gory shit in there too, which surprised me actually.
There's a lot of parallels with this story and Blade Runner. Blade Runner has a different look to it. Blade Runner has a darker tone. But if you like Blade Runner, you'll like this. This is almost kind of like, what if Blade Runner was a true story? That's kind of what it felt. A lot of the things that happen in Blade Runner also happen in this one. Like the scene with Rachel, when Deckard basically slaps Rachel around in order to get sex out of her. Remember that? In fucking Blade Runner? You're like, what the fuck is happening here? Shit like that kind of happens in this one between him and basically this fucking sex slave. But it's not as weird as in Blade Runner, because if you know what Blade Runner was about, fucking neither Deckard nor Rachel were humans. They were both replicants. They weren't human. I don't think they'd ever had sex.
They didn't know how it worked.
Well, they were in the story. They were all their memories were artificial. But that's talking about another movie. So they kind of like didn't know how to behave. In this one, he kind of slaps her around during interrogation, because he's got to find out who her pimp is, and she's protecting him. It's a weird story. Weird story. It's good though.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so let's give like a broad outline of the plot in case you guys haven't seen it. Gramthars said, I was in 7th grade when Sharky's Machine came out. It had everything for a 12-year-old to love: comedy, violence, and nudity. Yeah, there is some comedy in it, but the comedy in it to me seemed like subtler.
Yeah.
I actually really liked the whole crew, his machine, if you were. Like, it's because I like that he... I was reading this one review that I thought was like very perceptive, that said the cool thing about Burt Reynolds like directing himself in this is that even though he's playing kind of the stereotypical like tough macho cop, he actually kind of subverts that trope a little bit as well, and allows himself to be like really vulnerable in some scenes, like especially the scene where he gets like his fingers cut off and stuff like that, which is great. They said he's also like not egotistical in the sense that he surrounds himself with these other characters, the other crew, members of his crew, that are like kind of more interesting than he is.
Yeah.
Which was actually good. I think it's like a really good ensemble piece.
Yeah. And that reminds me again, in Blade Runner, Deckard got 2 of his fingers broken. In this one, he gets 2 of his fingers cut off. There's a lot of fucking parallels, and I got to check the dates. I don't know.
Well, this was actually, it's based on a novel that came out in 1978 by William Deal. So this is William Deal's first novel. And apparently what happened was that Sidney Sheldon, who's also a writer, sent Burt a copy of that novel and said, hey, this novel's pretty good. Like, why don't you read it? So he read it, and he said, ooh, I really like... He said it seemed very, quote-unquote, cinematic. And he said it also reminded him of the movie Laura, which was a film noir, which was Burt Reynolds' favorite movie from, 1944. So he said, well, I want this to be my next project, because he liked, the noir aspect of it. So
they're probably just using a lot of tropes that all noir films use.
Well, yeah. There is kind of like a formula that you go with.
The movie starts off. Burt's with his old narcotics unit. He's doing a drug bust. It's almost kind of like the way Eddie Murphy starts off Beverly Hills Cop with the damn truckload of cigarettes. It's similar to that.
Yeah, where he's undercover.
He's undercover.
Meeting
and
this
shit
guy
gets blown, and all of a sudden he's got to fucking go ape shit. But what I really liked about that opening scene is that when they show Burt undercover, you see him like you never seen him before. He's got a full beard that's kind of short, and he's got short hair, and he looks cool as shit with a beard.
Looks a bit like Sean Connery, I thought.
He looks cool as shit.
From around that same time.
I wish he would have stayed that way, but after that mission was over, he shaved his beard off, and he just had the old Burt Reynolds mustache.
Yeah.
But he actually looked cooler with a full beard.
I was reading a review of this guy. I found this blog where he reviews a whole bunch of Burt Reynolds movies, and the name of the series is called Riding the Mustache.
Riding the Mustache. Yeah.
So I thought that was really funny. All his Burt Reynolds reviews are all called Riding.
And no hairpiece or pompadour or anything.
It was just cropped short.
Got short hair.
Yeah.
It looks good. It's almost kind of like Deckard's haircut from Blade Runner. The movie's cool. Very cool. I liked it. I'd watch this one again because there's a bunch of stuff I missed too.
It's a complex story, but it's not all that difficult to follow.
Yeah.
I didn't find it all that difficult to follow. It's not as... the story in Malone was a lot more straightforward. This one has a lot more, bells and whistles, but I still don't think it's that...
Right.
It's really not that
complicated. I don't mean that complicated. There's a lot of little things that you can enjoy. Little side things between two characters of what they said. Said to each other in the background sometimes or on the side. That's kind of funny. But it's hard to take it all in because a lot of times they're talking over each other.
Yeah, it's
supposed to be very realistic.
It's almost like a Robert Altman movie where everybody's just kind of talking over each other like conversations. Because like you said, it's supposed to be very naturalistic.
Yeah.
And so there's when he first gets sent down to Vice, so he's on the narcotic squad, and I guess he's really good at that. But then this his cover gets blown. You find out about that later on, how that happened, but. He's chasing the guy, everything goes tits up, and while he's chasing the guy takes a hostage and goes on the bus, and then a couple the bus driver and one of the people on the bus ends up getting shot. I don't know if they were killed. So it was just kind of this big fuck up, and so he gets demoted to Vice. So when he goes down to the basement where Vice is, you go down there and it just looks like a fucking circus. You know what I mean?
It's the shittiest.
It's
desk.
all these characters. They give him this shitty desk with garbage all over it.
Next to the jail cell.
Right next to the jail cell, and there's all hookers, and they're yelling about calling their lawyer, and it's just so everybody on the Vice Squad is kind of a character. And like I said, Charles Durning plays the head of the Vice Squad, and he's just constantly screaming at what fuck ups all these people are, and it's just really really funny. So everybody's just kind of has conversations going at the same time, so it's all very chaotic, and Burt is just kind of holy shit, I can't believe I got fucking kicked down here. This is really shitty. But then it ends up that one of the prostitutes that they picked up had a lead on this high class prostitute, Domino, who's played by Rachel Ward, and it turns out that she has a link to a guy that's running for governor of Atlanta. And then they start they put her under surveillance. They have an apartment across from her apartment, and they're watching her. And then it turns out that she's also involved with this drug trade, sex trafficking, and all this other stuff. And so it turns out that there's a guy named Victor who comes to see her, and then Henry Silva's character is kind of the enforcer. He's the crazy guy that goes around killing people that need killing. So there's that. So So a lot of the middle part of the movie, interestingly, it like after all the characters are introduced, is like surveillance, like Burt Reynolds and some of his other members of his crew, like watching this prostitute like in her apartment and like the comings and goings. So, and then like them just having like discussions with each other, which actually sounds like it'd be boring, but it's totally not, because like all the characters are really interesting. So you really kind of like all their interactions with one another while they're watching her. And then like Burt Reynolds kind of ends up developing some feelings for her, like while he's kind of following her and going about her life and stuff, and then kind of feels the need to sort of like protect her when shit starts going pear-shaped. So yeah, there's a lot, like I said, there's a lot more stuff going on, but it's not terribly hard to follow, I don't think. I didn't really think
Scott Johnson said Stick was the voodoo Burt Reynolds movie.
Yeah, that one's on Amazon Prime too. This one we watched on Amazon Prime. It's not free. It was $2.99 though. You just like they had
it's a bunch. Well worth it though.
Yeah, they had a bunch of Burt Reynolds movies. They had Stick. They had Stroker Race. They had they had like they had that one called The End, which I think is like a black comedy.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure he directed that one as well, unless I may be wrong.
He was a real estate agent who was dying or something.
Yeah.
Like terminal cancer or something. Yeah.
I think I remember seeing that on cable back in the old days and that being funny, but maybe we'll get around to that one of these days too. But I don't know. It's just that this one, I don't know. I just really like this one. I just like the whole, like I said, there's funny shit in it, but the funny stuff is just kind of like subtle. Like one of the funniest things I thought was when they were taking him down to Vice, and the guy says to him, he's like, "You want to know what I think?" And Bert's just like, "No." Yeah. Like just like the tone of his voice. And it was just, so it's just like funny shit like that. He does say funny shit, but it's not like the Bruce that's like, smirking at the camera kind of thing. So I like that he was kind of going in a more serious route. And this was like I said, a lot more violent and a lot more gory than I was expecting. Like that finger cutting off scene was like pretty intense.
Yeah, it was good.
It
was good.
And
I recommend the movie. I put it up there with I really love Blade Runner. This is like a Southern Blade Runner or Black Rain, kind of like that too. Even though I think both of those other two movies, of course, were on a totally different level visually. You know what I mean? They were real expensive visually, Black Rain and Blade Runner, but totally in the way the stories are kind of laid out, real similar. If you like those two movies, you'd like this one. It's good. Good movie. Yeah,
Scott Johansson pointed out that Burt actually called this movie Dirty Harry in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Which I guess it kind of is.
Better than a Dirty Harry movie.
Yeah, well honestly, I don't mind the Dirty Harry movies, but I do kind of feel like they're more simplistic. Yeah. I don't know if I want to use that word because it sounds like a negative connotation. This one, like I said, one of the things that I thought was really good about this one was that even though Burt Reynolds' character, Tom Sharky, was kind of like, the tough macho stoic cop guy, he was a lot more like complex, I think.
Yeah. And
he was kind of like willing to let himself show like vulnerability in a way that maybe Clint Eastwood wouldn't.
To me, I think he was a character a lot like Deckard. Harrison Ford's Deckard. He was a lot like that.
Yeah, he was clearly very flawed.
Yeah.
And he had like a little bit, like, remember that scene where he first takes Domino like to that house, like his parents' house, which he's been fixing up, and he was carving like a window seat so he could like sit and like watch the school across the street. And he had carved like a rose into the wood, and he was trying to like hide it from her because he thought that she would think it was like too girly or something. I don't know. But she thought it was funny that he was like embarrassed to show her that he had like carved a rose there, like it wouldn't, like it like wasn't cool enough, you know what I mean? But I like little touches like that, like that there was actually something, else going on in there than just like this tough guy. But yeah, I liked that about it as well. I'm trying to think of like, because I know there was like something else. Now Rachel Ward, she was in Against All Odds too, wasn't she? I can't remember what else she was in. She's a British actress, I think.
I don't know. I didn't recognize her.
She Burt said that that they were taking a really long time because he's like, the person that plays Domino in this movie has to be like, when you look at her, you're like, yeah, bam, you know what I mean? So he was looking for somebody, he couldn't really find her, and then Rachel Ward turned up on the cover of a magazine as like the face of the 80s, And so then when he saw her in person, he's like, yeah, she totally has to be in the movie. So, like I said, I'm pretty sure she was in Against All Odds. She was in some other stuff, too. But he's like, he thought it was good because he wanted the actress to be able to speak French and Italian, and she could. So it was kind of like a perfect fit.
No Need for Me Too says Sharky's Machine is heavily referenced on the Venture Brothers animated show on Adult Swim. I didn't know that.
It's it's kind of like part of the background story or the lore.
Scott Johnson says Reynolds did direct the end.
Yeah, I thought he did.
Okay.
I remember that being funny, but I haven't seen it for a really long time. So like I said, it's a dark comedy, like about a suicide or something like that.
No Need for Me says, I haven't seen it since I was a kid and haven't blurred with other Reynolds films. Oh, it's a good film.
I think that's what happened to me. Film, like I said, I kind of feel like because growing up, I saw Smokey and the Bandit, Cannonball Run, and stuff like that, and Stroker Ace to a lesser degree, like so many times, that I think I always associated Burt Reynolds with like funny shit or like funny car chase kind of comedy movies. And now that we're kind of exploring some of his other back catalog, I was like surprised just how many serious movies he did and how good he was at them.
Yeah, he's good. This is like, I mean, it came way later than Bullet, but it's kind of like his version of Bullet. It's good. You know, so far. When you say this is kind of like Burt Reynolds' version of Bullet.
Yeah, it's just kind of,
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely a cop that's getting involved in like some big kind of much larger like corruption kind of case.
Yeah.
It's just that kind of thing. No, I was gonna say that Rachel Ward actually she got nominated for a Golden Globe for this. So I mean, this has like so many character actors in it that you will recognize.
Yeah, it's all star.
I mean, like I said, Henry Silva's in it. Fucking Earl Holliman is in it. Brian Keith is in it. There's just like. There's so many fucking people.
I think they said that this is Burt Reynolds' highest rated movie. That people think that this is his best movie.
Of all the ones that he directed, I'm pretty sure this is like the most well regarded. And like I said, I think in general, like most of the critics at the time gave this like a really good, like Roger Ebert and all that, like gave this actually a really good review at the time that it came out.
Poster doesn't fit the movie.
It really doesn't. Like I said,
real serious like Bullet.
Yeah, I mean, well, like I said, I kind of feel like people still perceived Burt as, like, the funny guy.
Yeah.
So they're trying to make the poster look kind of like it could be comedic. Yeah. Potentially. And this really isn't. No. It really isn't comedic.
I would have had a poster like Bullet or a poster like Black Rain or something like that, or you know, or made it like a Blade Runner poster. It would have looked really fucking cool. That's what... kind of dark and urban and, you know,
made it look like a noir poster. I mean, because that's essentially what this is. Yeah. It's like a modern day noir.
Yeah. Detective type movie.
Yeah, but like set in the South, set in Atlanta. So, you know, that's probably what they should have done. But, you know, I don't work for the movie companies and making the posters back then.
They were looking at the old data from the time and trying to sell it in those days. So... guess they thought that was the way they should.
I kind of feel like that was kind of a problem a lot, though, like in the 70s, 80s. Maybe not a big problem, but I have, like, I have seen it happen before where just the poster art, or sometimes book covers, too, because I've seen this happen, too, like, especially stuff that came out in the 70s or 80s, like, absolutely does not fit.
You're right.
Because, honestly, like, doing that that's an art. You have to really kind of, like, capture the tone of the shit, like, in your marketing materials. Yep. And sometimes... yeah, I feel like the poster for this with like it kind of had the neon, but that kind of reminded me of Porky's.
Porky's, yeah.
Yeah. We were thinking the same thing. It reminded me of Porky's. So, and then they didn't have photos, which I guess they didn't back then. It was mostly, I mean, they did have photos, but they had a lot of like artwork painted, and like the painted artwork wasn't really that good.
Yeah, no.
And it just kind of like look a wacky ensemble cop thing. That's kind of what it reminded me of.
What this needs is like a 4K remaster re-release with all new cover art and just, you know what I mean, as if you were releasing this movie today in today's market. It, you know what I mean, you can make that that Blu-ray case look badass.
Well, the Blu-ray cover is actually a bit better.
Yeah, okay.
The Blu-ray cover actually has like a large kind of like stylized Burt Reynolds' face, and then like in the background, you know that shot when he first sees Domino, and she like kind of turns around and you can sort of see through her skirt.
Yeah.
It has like that shot. Yeah, it has that shot where she's like turning around looking at him.
Right.
Like it's small, like in the distance, but then like his face is. It's not great, but it's better. It's better because the original one like looked kind of goofy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It looked like it was kind of like treading into like Police Academy.
Yeah.
Not that wacky, but kind of more at that end of the spectrum.
Okay, guns. Guns that show up in the movie are pretty realistic for the era. Lots of 357 Magnum revolvers. When Sharky first shows up undercover, he's got a damn. I think it's a Colt Diamondback. Wasn't it a Diamondback or a Python? I think it was a Diamondback.
I don't know why you're asking me.
Well, they said it. They said what it was. I think it was a Colt Diamondback, which is the old 357 Magnum revolver, and they were commenting on it, and then it looked like there was some 41 Magnum fucking revolvers. The bad guy had one of those, and then later on, you start seeing more automatics. Sharky and his buddy. What was it? What was his buddy's name again? Mac? No.
Which one?
Shit.
The Bernie Casey guy or the other guy?
Yeah, Bernie Casey. Bernie Casey.
Arch,
that's right. Yeah, Arch is. I think he had a 1911 also. You started seeing automatics come out towards the end of the movie, but you don't see any. I don't remember any kind of submachine guns or anything. Maybe that guy did have one. I don't know, but I just remember there were a lot of revolvers in this, and 1911. So it's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Oh, I want to say too, fun fact. You know that stunt where that dude like fell off that really high building?
Yeah.
I believe this is according to Wikipedia. Still stands as the highest free fall stunt ever performed from a building for a commercially released film.
Okay, yeah.
Even though they didn't
use... went off of a 20 or 30-story building.
Yeah, they didn't actually use, like, for the long shot, I think they used a dummy. But they did actually do that stunt.
Yeah.
But just the first part of it is actually the real
it's two different shots. The first part of the shot is a dude he's kicking and screaming on his way down.
Yeah.
But then it clicks over to another angle, and it's a dummy. Obviously, it's a dummy.
Yeah.
Which I think I would have left only the first shot in, but oh well.
Yeah, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
I mean... But yeah, they did actually do that stunt. Like, somebody did actually, like, fog. It was 220 feet.
Yeah, okay.
Yikes.
Yeah.
But yeah, scary.
Recommend the movie, though, man. Check it out. It's $2.99 on Amazon.
Amazon Prime, yeah. I don't know if you can find it cheaper elsewhere.
It's worth it, though. It's good. It's good.
I mean, of all the Burt Reynolds movies we've seen, I think this was my favorite one. And like I said, it's weird because I had seen it as a teenager on cable, but I didn't really remember anything about it. I think I was probably like too young to appreciate it because, like I said, I really liked like his comedy shit, and then when I saw that, I was probably like, well, this isn't funny. Like, what's going on? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It is like I said, it has funny stuff in it, but it's more like subtle humor or like kind of just situational shit that happens or kind of like dark humor. It's not kind of like that over the top like zany kind of shit. It's much more like a noir feel to it. Yeah. But I don't know. I really dug it. I actually wouldn't mind watching it again at some point.
Yeah,
And we'll so you want to do another one for tomorrow? Might as well.
Yeah, we can do it.
Which one do you want to do? Do you know? Like I said, I'm trying to think. The Amazon Prime had Stick, and it had Stroke or Ace, and it had The End.
I want to see either Stick or Stroke or Ace.
And it even had one that was
there's a bunch of them I never heard of. Yeah, there's a bunch of them.
I didn't realize he was in. I knew he was in
2018, wasn't he?
Yeah. Well, he died, didn't he? Didn't he die?
I don't know. Let me see.
I thought he died recently, like in the last couple of years.
Let me see.
Am I wrong about that? I'm sorry if you're still alive, Bert. I'm just. I thought that he died though, like last year or the year before, but he was in something in 2018.
Yeah, he died September 6, 2018.
Okay, so he was. So the thing that we saw that's on Amazon Prime from 2018 was probably his last thing.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, but yeah, they have a bunch of his movies on there. Oh, fun fact too is that the kind of like the bouncer guy or the driver that was in this, El Mongol.
Yeah.
That's a Mexican wrestler.
Yeah, okay.
Like in real life.
Yeah, that
got put in the movie.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I thought it was funny when they said his name, and I was just kind of like, what, he doesn't have a name? He's just like,
that was his gangster name.
Mongol.
That was his gangster name.
But he's like he's a Mexican wrestler.
Yeah.
I just like, I saw that too on the
luchador.
Wikipedia page. Yeah, he's a luchador.
Yeah.
I thought that was like pretty funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we'll find another Burt Reynolds movie to watch later
Probably
tonight.
watch Stick or something.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that tomorrow. But yeah, it's this was a really good one. I liked this one a lot. So yeah, go to Amazon Prime, pay $2.99, and watch it. And we hope you guys like it. So thanks for dropping by and hanging out with us, talking about Burt the Stash.
Yep.
And we will see you guys again tomorrow. Bye.